Cool, okay. So I'm going to talk about the reptiles, as Bill has pointed out. But what I want to do is, although Brian and Bill has touched, and even the other guys has touched a little bit on the biodiversity studies or the history in Angola and stuff, I'm going to just take you guys a little bit back to the herps and to sort of paint a picture of why this study in the source or the core area is so important and what a big gap it actually fills. So historically, during the colonial years, there was actually quite a lot of work done in Angola, and Ninda has nicely summarized all of these things. But so this is why I highlighted it in green. This is all the work that has been published up to the 1940s. So you can see there's quite a lot of work. And then what I did is I went and mapped that. And you will see our core oops. I need to just, good, this thing is not working. But anyway, you can see the core area down there, which I will keep like that so you can see, as I add the records to it, that area basically remains the same. There's not a lot of information added to this. So this is the amount of records that we know of through literature in the 1940s, which is during the colonial era. So you can see there's not a lot. And there's a few more papers, the Germans that came in 57 to do some work. And then one of the big things that has been a bit underlooked is the work that was done by Koch. And Fitzsimons did touch a little bit on those collections and where he described some stuff. But then we headed into that period of independence. That's why I highlighted in yellow. And Laurent, up to 64, he did 3 big papers based on the work up in Dundu Museum, which is basically a review work that was done in the previous period on the green and during the colonial era, and then Thijs van den Oudenmuur that did some snake work. So that was during the struggle for independence, and then the red period down here, this is where civil war started happening. So to show you then what happened during that period, that is basically all the work that Laurent added to it, not too much. And you can see the core area down there still remains quite unknown. So this is one of the only studies that came out during the Civil War, where Chris McCarthy, that used to be he worked in the snake park, was while on military duty, while they were digging the trenches, some of the reptiles that got killed, or he was called in to come and remove them. He collected quite an important little collection from Quito-Carnaval, which is one of the only collections made in this study area. Then Poynton and Ark, although it's in the red period, a lot of the work is based on visits that Wolf Hawk did in the 70s, but it's only been summarized in the 90s. That's why it's in there. And then there was a synthesis of work done by Clara Ninda. Help me with the pronunciation. Ross? Ross. So those were all basically synthesis of work done previously. She didn't report, this is only the amphibians, she didn't report on the Hyperoleus and the tree frogs, which is quite a big families. And then we moved into the green period, which is now after the Civil War. And Hawk published then a new species description of endemic gecko to Angola. But I've mapped Hawk stuff also here, but all of those records were made in the 70s. So you will see now. Good, you got something that popped up here. I'm just going to cancel it. So you can see this is then our knowledge up to that period, and all this blue is basically Wolf Hawk's records that has gone unpublished. But I had to throw it in there because it gives us an idea. And still, the core area stays poorly known, except for the few blue records that came in there through Chris McCarthy's trips. And then we headed into the new era, so initiated by Brian's work, which was the first time that I was introduced into Angola through Bill's assistance. I took part in that expedition in 2009. I was also part of the Lago Karumba trip. And then there's the new initiative by the American people and Luis, that they are now surveying some other areas, the Kapanda Dam. Then the German guys, Ravel, Serra de Pinga, and then also the Americans guys that served the Iona, the southwestern part, the same as our trip. And then for the rest of the talk, I want to focus on those two expeditions. The one was led by the SARAP, Chris Brooks, and then this project that we're doing now. So that's the maps up to before this project and the SARAP. So nothing has really changed. The core area is still pretty much unknown for a few records there. Just zooming into that core area, the different colors is the different basins that we are dealing with. So you can see there's not a lot of herpetology or records known from that area. And basically, to summarize it, at that stage, we only knew about 15 amphibian species, 54 reptiles, and a total of 69 of those. Then we went in with the SARAP project in 2012 and 13, and then also partly of this project, where Bill went to the source lakes, and I went down the Longa River and the Quito River. We put this all together in the paper, and we produced this paper in, what was it date, Bill? 2016, sorry. And that's basically what we added to the study areas. You see, we're starting to fill it, but we haven't got to the real important area until this project of Steve. But we have made an important contribution. We nearly sort of almost doubled what was known at that stage. So there was a clear increase of records. There was some nice stuff coming out, new country records. And I actually just now, I've told Bill last night, I just now found out that skink, legless skink down the bottom is actually an undescribed species. So I need to get more samples. That was the first ever record from Angola. These were all new records that was done during the project. I didn't even make an attempt to put on stuff that we think are new species for this first expedition, but there was a handful that we were thinking is new, mostly in the Taikadinas and the grass frog and the puddle frogs, which is quite sometimes difficult to identify. Okay, so that brings us now to why we're all here. It's about this project, the National Geographic Okavango project, and this is just a map that I threw up that everybody has seen so far. We went into all of these source lakes and we put up some traps. This is a video that was produced by the 50/50 guys, just showing us putting up traps. And you'll notice Curlin in there. And the Halo guys were helping us. They were actually very good, the Halo guys. Although it wasn't their duties, they helped us putting up these traps, which took up to about 2 hours to put a trap. We put about 4 traps per source lake. Yeah. And then those of you that have been at those source lakes, and with the humidity and the conditions there, it's quite a hard work. So that was our trap sites. Don't worry about the details. But we have trapped between 3 and 4 traps per source lake, averaging from 9 to 18 days. And we also supplemented that by doing some active searches for tadpoles. 5 minutes. Okay, I need to go quickly through this last few. And then also sometimes you get a surprise. Get bitten by some of your animals. Kostat was taking some nice action photograph. This is our results. Just quickly adding those blue dots up there. You can see there's still some areas that will be of interest to study. But species-wise, we just suddenly increased, doubled, more than double. So it's quite a jump from what we have known from before 2012, from 15 to 43 species of amphibians, 54 reptiles to 92. And I don't believe that we have reached, to answer Bill's question, I don't think we reached that on the reptile side, the saturation. I think we can add a lot more. But the amphibians, ask Ninda, I think we've covered that quite well. These were some of the exciting records. Bill was talking about Congo relations, those first two species. Leptopilus parvus and Cassinula wittii is only known from southern DRC and northern Zambia. So there's a clear Congo species affiliation coming in there. It's not the only ones. Baratia water snake from the Baratia floodplains. It's a new contribution to Angola, and then it says it all. Decibeltic confuser. So it's a new record. These are some of the others. The glass snake, the Zambezi whip snake, the snake night adder. We're still working on it. It might not be. It might be just a normal night adder. And then the plated lizard. But we are also, I only listed 4 of them here, but we are predicting that we are at the moment at least 10 undescribed species, but we have discovered some species that we can't assign morphologically, and we're now currently looking at the way forward. And for this project, we got some barcoding money, and we started barcoding the stuff. So we're doing 16S for amphibians, CO1 for the reptiles, and then additional site B for snakes. The reason why, those are the most informative genes, and where we have the best representatives available to compare to. We're dealing with an area where there is not a lot of genetic material available on GenBank and stuff. So we're trying to make sure we cover it correctly. So we have completed about 70 of those samples. I'm not going to give the results here, but there is some really interesting stuff coming in where we morphologically assigned a species to a certain species, but it's clearly not that. So there is some more cryptic stuff coming out. The aim for that is then to produce some more detailed phylogenetic studies on some of the target stuff, the rascal lizards, the burrowing stuff. And then we need to, as part of this project, trying to describe all those species. What's the deadline, Rainer? Tomorrow. By tomorrow. And then I really want to look a bit into the species diversity of the source lakes compared to lower down into the delta, and also do some endemism and analysis. I want to just thank the people, especially this project. I think, as Bill has put it at one of the previous meetings, I think from reptile side, this is maybe the most detailed herpetological study done for Angola at the moment. And we got really good results. So thank you for this opportunity to be part of this. Without this project, we wouldn't have got all these results and this stuff. So yeah.